Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Madalena. Welcome to the 41st consecutive Above and Beyond Hangout. I'm João Moreira Pires. I'm your host here in Lisbon. In Porto, we have Madalena Cardoso, who will get us up to speed with the ecosystem. Is everything good there, Madalena?
Everything's good apart from the sore heads from São João's hammer, but apart from that, everything's good. So it's been 1 year since the AI Act has become a reality for European startups and stakeholders. So today we're digging deeper with a panel discussion about what are the changes, what are the challenges, and what is still going to change in the future. So make sure to stay tuned to that. And let me put you up to speed about what we've been doing in the past month since the previous Hangout and what are the opportunities your startup can apply for. So it's been a hell of a month for our team at Startup Portugal because we've been traveling a lot. We've been to Web Summit Vancouver, we've been to Vivatech, we've even been to Japan and Expo 2025 Osaka. Yeah, very far away. Um, all of this, of course, in our Business Abroad program that helps startups expanding internationally. For 2025, everything is over, so we've finished all the business abroads, but make sure to stay tuned to our social media and our website for the 2026 destinations. And who knows, maybe your startup will be doing business abroad next year. Speaking of tech conferences, we are already packing our bags and programming everything for the Road to Web Summit, which is the name of a program that selects the 125 most promising startups. So if you're interested in going to Web Summit and making sure that your startup is very well prepared, we will help you doing that. So make sure to run to our website since this is a program with the first come, first serve conditions. So make sure to run to our website, apply, and we will help you prepare your startup for Web Summit, which is one of the biggest tech conferences that will take place in Lisbon between the 10th and the 13th of November. Apart from this, today we will be doing also, we'll be signing a memorandum of understanding with Young AI Leaders Community Lisbon Hub. The purpose of this MOU is to establish a collaborative framework to jointly promote initiatives that foster a debate in artificial intelligence and within the AI for Good movement from the UN, and also to contribute to the achievements of the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN. So also stay tuned, we'll be doing it right away. But before all this, I would like to welcome to the stage Francisco Seixas, co-founder and CEO of Weaver. So give him a round of applause for his speech.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Startup Portugal for having me here. Okay, I wanted to, no, go back. No, the other way. Perfect. I want you all to raise your hands if you've been influenced by online reviews in any way in the last year. It can be to choose a restaurant, to go to an hotel, buy something online. Raise your hand if you've been influenced. Okay, makes sense. Now, keep your hand raised if you regularly leave reviews to places you've been to share your experience. Okay, so yeah, that checks out with the statistics. So 93% of customers say that online reviews influence their decision, but only 5% leave reviews. So despite reviews being a very important part of businesses today, most businesses have a struggle to generate, analyze, and respond to online reviews, to their customers' reviews in a scalable way. This leads to missed opportunities, poor reputation manager, and missed insights as well. This is where we come in. Me and Alvaro, we joined forces to solve this problem. We created Waiver. Waiver is a platform that allows businesses to improve, manage, and analyze all of their online reviews in one place. Right now, reviews are scattered across the web. So you have in Google, if you're a restaurant, you have reviews in Google, TripAdvisor, The Fork, Digin, Zomato, and Chef, you name it. They are everywhere. You cannot read them all. You cannot analyze them all. We put them all in one place and using AI, give you all of the reports, all of the insights, and allow you to reply with no effort. Of course, this comes with the benefits of better reviews, more insights. You know your customer better, and in turn, it will become an invisible salesman for your business. We are a SaaS subscription model. We have 3 different plans, and businesses can choose the one that fits their needs. So just to finish our traction, we opened less than a year ago in August 2024. Right now we have around 30 clients managing 240 stores within our platform. We already integrated 5 different review websites and work within 6 different industries. So if you are ready to start managing your reviews or if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much, Francisco. If anyone has questions for him, just over there in Porto, find him during the networking moment. And now, for something completely different, please welcome Otto Lennart, who will tell us all about Young AI Leaders Lisbon Hub. Otto, come over here.
All right. Hello, everybody. I've been told I have 5 minutes, so my pace may be a little bit too fast, but let's see. I'm here to talk about the Young AI Leaders community, which is, as the hub leader of the Young AI Leaders community appointed by the ITU. The ITU is the International Telecommunication Union, which is responsible for many things inside the UN regarding telecommunication, and especially connectivity. So this I already explained. I will present first a bit of a history of the Young AI Leaders community, how it got to start and how we're here. And then I'm really going to cut short to what the Lisbon Hub is doing, what we pretend on doing, and you'll see more in a second as well. So, as we all know, the SDGs were established in 2015 by the UN with a goal to take a look at the impact they have with this initiative by 2030. So we only have 5 years left, which I'm going to come to in a second. In 2017, the UN created the AI for Good movement. The AI for Good, up until Corona, was an event in Geneva, happening every year, bringing together many different brilliant minds when it comes to AI. It's a very neutral ground, so you see people like Geoffrey Hinton and other real inventors in the event, which is very exciting. But since 2020, since Corona, or 2021 more specifically, since Corona started, they came together and they realized that there's a huge potential for the young community to be activated all over the world and to create AI solutions that impact and really, procreate the AI for Good and the SDGs. So as I mentioned, we only have 5 years to complete these goals, and as we all know, AI is very disruptive. It's disrupting industries already at a huge pace, and our idea is that there's also a huge advantage to doing that in the AI for Good space, so really tech for good. I'm going to cut to the Lisbon Hub, which I'm representing here today as a hub leader, as I mentioned. To be a member in the Lisbon AI Hub, you have to be under 30 years old, okay? So this is a young community, as I mentioned. You have to reside in Lisbon, and you'll be vetted by our recruitment team. Until now, we're 20 people, very committed. We established the hub in February this year, so it's been more or less 4 months. These are just some faces, so you also see who's behind the hub. You see me there as the hub leader. We have Abdul, who will be present later here, as the impact lead. Leonora as a regional lead, making sure we have contact all around the globe. Right now we have 100 hubs spread all around the world in all major cities. Here in Portugal, there's only 2. We have the Lisbon Hub and we have the Viseu Hub, which we're partnering with to really have a national coverage on our initiative. We also have a recruitment and a marketing team inside, excuse me. These are 2 numbers set by the ITU, so by the end of the year, we're gonna be 50 members in total. By the end of the 2-year mandate that I was appointed for as being the hub leader will be 100. So you can really see that one of our goals is to build a capacity inside the hub for us to be able to provide AI for Good projects and tools to the community. These are just some of the partners. We, as you know, we'll be signing the MOU here shortly with João. So I want to thank Swap Portugal a lot for believing in us and taking this initiative from the beginning. We're also partnering with Nova, more specifically the Haddad Entrepreneurship Institute there, Women in Tech EU, Microsoft, Google, Unicorn Factory, and EIT are pending MOUs, which we're going to be reviewing by the end of next month. I just shared some of the projects that we're going to present also as inside the hub to all of our members. So we have the AI literacy project, which is our commitment to teaching and skilling young professionals and students around AI skills, more or less 5,000 at the end of the year. AI for public sector and NGO, that only means we're going to be providing solutions and tools for the public sector and for NGOs that hopefully can have a great impact in their business. Obviously, in a free environment with volunteering community, right? Just to cut short, we have the index, which is going to be really meant for visibility. So we're going to be indexing any AI youth initiatives that are worth attending. And we have the charter, which is going to be our community guideline, which we're going to present to the Portuguese government and also to the UN, gathering from private institutions, public institutions, and presenting this youth AI charter, which we call it. So yeah, we're still looking for financial partners, media partners, legal partners, as well as on any other university that wants to attend. As I mentioned, we're a national initiative since Viseu Hub has added themselves to our hub. And obviously, in a more general term, mentors, collaborators, and network builders. So if you scan this QR code, you'll go to our website, and there you will find a form, which you can apply for if you're interested in any of these opportunities. So again, thank you so much, Startup Portugal, for giving us the stage. And you guys are going to be hearing a lot more about the young AI leaders in the future. So thank you.
Stay there, Otto, stay there. Yep. Thank you so much. And now, João Silva, come on stage. He will be our moderator today, but he will be signing the MOU for Startup Portugal.
I would like to also congratulate Otto for the initiative, and we as Startup Portugal would like to promote this kind of initiatives, to support AI, and coming from young entrepreneurs to and innovators is important for us to be what you can be helpful in these terms.
Okay.
Congrats.
Sure. So, so again, thank you, João. We really see your commitment not only to the SDGs, but also to the initiative as a whole. And we hope that we can really bring some impact into the city and on a national level, as I mentioned. So thank you so much.
Congrats, and go on.
That's it.
That's the okay. Let's switch directly to another subject, AI. We were talking about one regulation that is coming to implementations. It's a common meme that we all probably heard about, that United States innovates, the China imitates, and Europe regulates. So that's why we are talking here today about regulation. The AI Act is a piece of legislation that is being in discussion on the European Commission, and for a few years. They reached to a consensus somehow last year, and they were supposed to be starting to implement this regulation during this year. From what we heard about the carpet of the European Union, this is not yet being implemented full throttle, but and it's supposed to be postponed another year, but we should be aware of what it implicates and what applies to the startups. And that's why we are here today to talk a little bit of what is the AI Act, what is the impact that it has on startups and most of the projects involving AI, and what actually are the advantages of having regulation in these terms and in this area. For this, we have a great panel here. We invited someone on the legal part that I would like to ask on stage in Porto. A bit alone in Porto, but I'm going to be asking her, Anna Marques, to be talking with us from Porto. Here in Lisbon, we also have a communication more area that is coming from Catarina Salteiro. That is, yes, come on stage, please. Head of Communication and Public Affairs at Defined AI. And for a more perspective of a founder and investor, we have Ricardo Macedo, co-founder of Leica Ventures. I'll ask you, in there, please. And I'm João Silva, as you already hear from the other João of Startup Portugal. That yes. So let me just have my appointments here ready. And I would like to start with Ana in Porto to ask about more on this legal perspective. What are the concrete steps that should a startup take today to avoid being caught off guard by the AI Act tomorrow and next year, when this applies, actually?
Well, first of all, thank you to Startup Portugal for this invitation to be here today. It seems that I'm alone, but I'm not alone at all. We have here a wonderful audience on this beautiful place here in Uptech Porto. I'm sorry that you're not here, João, today, but we can hear you well, so I don't feel alone. Well, first of all, yes, it's. The AI Act is present, and of course AI it's something that it's part of our lives right now. Even humor has been affected by AI. We recently saw in the last episode of Ruído of Bruno Nogueira. Well, it was really funny, a sketch about kind of physical ChatGPT with all the collaborators pretending to be kind of an AI tool in humans, well, using human brains and so like a call center. It was really funny. So yes, startups of course need to take action and of course have to adapt their business to the regulation. As João was saying, we are facing some delay in terms of application, in terms of the let's say entering into force of the regulation, and that has to do with different factors. The directives are different from regulations. The directives need an application law in the different EU member states. The regulations enter into force directly without needing a national law. This regulation particularly, well, as regulations that imply some change on the way, let's say on the way business will work and may imply some additional costs and structure, etc. They have a transition period. So the AI Act has a transition period until 2026. It has been started to enter into force last year. We are now, it's basically right? Now 1 year. Yes. So first of all, what it would be important to startups to have in mind is that they first must look into if they really are in the territorial scope of the AI Act, and they may be in the scope of application of the AI Act if their business applies to EU, whether they are a provider, a deployer, an importer, or simply a distributor under the AI Act. And then something that startups need to do, as other companies, is to look into the systems, the AI systems they are using, and they may be characterized as prohibited, high risk, limited risk, and minimal risk. And obligations according to the regulation apply differently to the 4 types of categories. Something to have in mind and very easily to explain, the prohibited AI systems, they clearly are systems that the EU does not want to exist. They do social scoring, for instance, manipulation. They apply biases to the content, like racial biases, and said we do not want in EU this type of content. So we do not want this type of AI systems. So they are completely prohibited. Then we have high risk systems like biometric, like credit scoring, for instance, like medical diagnosis. It's high risk, of course. We understand why. So there are special requirements that they need to follow in terms of, let's say, compliance with the AI. I'm not going into details, but it's easily understandable why. And we have limited risk AI systems like chatbots, so like content creation, images creation, etc. So in this case, we just need to take into consideration specifically the transparency and explainability. So it's important to explain that image, that content was created with AI, so that we don't face the issue of fake information. And then we have minimal risk systems like spam filters, which is a no-brainer. Okay, so in this case, we really don't need to worry a lot. So basically, and Joao, not to take much longer, so 2 steps that are important for this, for startups to have in mind considering the AI Act is to classify themselves as, well, considering the territorial scope, and then the AI system they work with, or they deploy, or they import, depending on their different type of startup.
So the first step is about assessment on what type of AI or for what are we doing with AI. I believe Europe is trying to avoid a scenario like Black Mirror TV series or the Terminator series on TV movies. We are trying to create something to not reach that type of scenario. So the first step would be evaluate what type of risk we are using with our algorithms, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly,
so I'll move a bit for the communication area. So, Katerina, how are you currently communicating the use of AI to your users and stakeholders? And do you believe this AI Act will force startups to rethink how they talk about their own technology?
I think so. And I think that going back here a little bit on the AI Act as well, and by taking advantage of the amazing context that Anna gave us on the full scope of the legislative piece, one thing that's very interesting for us to look at is the way that the AI Act on the global panorama reshifted and made us all look into AI in a different way. So we were all looking at AI in the past before ChatGPT, let's put it that way. We were all looking at AI as something that was a little bit subjective. We weren't too worried about, as a world, how it would be applied, if it was being created ethically. There was no conversation around that. That wasn't a mainstream thing. And what the AI Act did for the rest of the world, pretty much, it was to bring this conversation to the center of the public debate, which was AI should be human-centric, which is the purpose of the first proposal of the AI Act that the Commission actually puts forward. And then, obviously, there's a lot of back and forth in the European Parliament and in the Commission and in the Council. The final piece, it's a bit of, how they say in Brussels, a Christmas tree, because everyone put their decorations up, and it ends up being something a little bit with pieces, some more random than others, but that's one of the things that the AI Act achieved from a communication standpoint and from a public affairs standpoint, is to change that perspective and that narrative. Going to the startups, how this will impact the communication of AI for the startups. It will impact because nowadays we cannot just talk about what we are developing, we need to talk how we are developing, to which purpose we are developing, If we're talking about AI, which data we are used to train the AI, because that will be very important. We are talking about transparency, we are talking about traceability, we are talking about being very, very clear on what the data of the users will be used for, what is the purpose of the system. So that will change because those rules are being implemented. And as Anna was mentioning, that's right, there's the geographical implementation of the AI Act. But any company that wants to operate in the EU or that wants to have their product available to EU citizens need to do that. So it's kind of a little bit of the Brussels effect. We do something in Brussels that will be implemented all across the world. And what we do at Defend AI, pretty much, just to do the segue here, is we are a data for AI company. So that it's why we are part of this conversation as well. It's very important that for all the companies that are developing AI, everything starts with the data. And the way that you communicate the data that you get, it's one of the most important things, because you want it to be ethical. You want to make sure that the data that you are used is compliant. And that's the way that you will make sure that in the end, you don't have a PR nightmare on your hands, that you don't get sued by the New York Times because you've been using their data without their permission, for instance. This is just one example. There are a bunch of lawsuits nowadays because of this. So it will change the way that we communicate, absolutely. Not just for the startups, for the big companies as well, but the startups need to be extra careful on the way that they vet the process internally, on the data that they use, on the partners that they use, on the models that they are building on top of. So yeah, it will change everything in a nutshell.
Okay, but so we have here a founder and an investor. Ricardo, do you see this as a threat to innovation, or can help innovation?
Of course, you cannot help.
Cannot help.
Solely a threat. It's nonsense that we are looking for something fantastic that will change the world, that change the way we interact with technology, with each other. That can bring so many good things. And the first thing we do is regulate something that it's not even out there. How can we tell a startup that you need to, before getting idea and start building your stuff, you need to think about regulations? Why? It makes no sense. And the point is, Europe is always this actor that babysits people and companies, which totally makes no sense. It's totally against innovation. You can put all the regulation that you want. Bad actors will be always bad actors. You see there are still drugs, human traffic, everything, because bad actors don't give a damn about regulations. So the only thing that you are doing is you are making people, good people, not innovate and not make things. I never read the AI Act. I ask AI to give me assessments on the risks and understand what is the implications for, and then I just trash it out. And when I'm building together with founders, that's what we do. I'm not a professional VC, okay? So of course, professionals VC at some point, they need to look at this because it's a regulation, it's mandatory. Of course, they need to do due diligence about that. That's life. Nobody likes to pay taxes, but we pay anyway because it's mandatory. That's it. But start building a product and think about the AI Act. No, man, you just need to be a good person. If you are a good person, you have ethics. If you have ethics and you want to change the world for good and you are doing business to help people, to help business, that's enough. After that, you need to take decisions. And if you take bad decisions like being a freaking racist, human rights are there. Don't need an AI Act to work on it, or think about social scoring the way it's done in China. Does, like, insurance company doesn't do social scoring at all? Like, giving an assessment risk, and my mother pays more than me because I'm maybe healthier because I'm younger? Does the state doesn't do social scoring with our invoices and give us discounts on our taxes by the amount of money we invest or we use during out the year? What is social scoring? What we should speaking more on how can we help people use AI to become more effective, spend less time working on redundant tasks that technology can do now. We should be more focused how can we help all the the industries in Europe use AI and help them bring AI and help them use it. And as a person working in a company, before thinking about going and start, let's start with what we have right now, is helping them understand how can you be 10 times more efficient and build value. And then Europe can compete against China, Russia, the US. Because in the end, what the AI Act did was startups here in Europe trying to raise money. The US say, no, thank you. Who has the money? Which are the 10 biggest companies, AI companies in the world? 10 biggest companies without AI in the world. How many applications you have on your iPhone that are from Europe? 0 maybe? 1? I don't know.
Spotify, probably.
Spotify is a company now in the US, a public company from the US. So no, sorry.
But it's not too good to have at least a set of rules, because from what you were talking about, okay, I don't believe AI Act is like the monster that usually we think about without reading it. I haven't read it. I did the same as you. Asked ChatGPT what is the problems around it.
It's not, but let me just tell you something. It's
a
not a monster, but creates the effect of the monsterness.
Yes.
Because when the AI Act came up, this idea, the biggest VC in the world that are in US start putting money on AI companies in Europe. Why? Because of the AI Act. And they don't want that type of regulation. They want innovation. So what we are doing is close our doors, and we don't have the capability to invest in our companies to do what they are doing right now. And China does. And you can say, okay, but the ways that China does is totally different. We don't need to copy that. We need to establish our rules. But our rules cannot be regulation. Think about regulation first, innovation after. No. Regulation comes after that. Regulation for Uber came after Uber, and that makes sense. Shakes the market, of course, but that's the point.
I don't think we did. Just to add on top of that, I do understand the point of scaring off the investment in Europe, but I don't think there was like that big of investment in European companies even before the AI Act. So I'm wondering on the actual impact, if it's something that we can tie to the AI Act, or is it something that didn't happen before and it just didn't happen
No,
afterwards?
it's continuing happening. Because
So it's not
Europe.
it's not a consequence of the AI Act.
No,
it just
just business being business made in Europe. That's it.
I'm not sure I agree 100%, but
Well, I'll ask Anna to join again to the conversation. Don't be there alone in Porto. I hope there's a good room there to warm you. I'll get back to a bit of a thing that Catarina said a few moments ago regarding the third-party AI models, that most of companies use it to innovate their own, to create their own products. How they should integrate and divide responsibilities in this practice, what this implements or implicates in on your lawyer perspective. I'm here, like, one of the things we actually in some forums in Europe try to, from the startups associations in Europe, when we talk with the commission, one of the things we try to do is not hiring lawyers, hiring developers to build the innovation and the product. But being this regulation, what are these responsibilities they should have in mind to solve when using the third-party AI models?
Thank you, John, for the question, and I'll get back to the discussion before, because I think it's.
You feel free to join anytime you want to. We can hear you always.
Thank you, thank you. I just understand we don't have much time, and yes, some of the issues regarding the AI Act are really can raise passions, and and if we deep dive, we do not give any much useful information for the startups that are hearing us, and I just want to be sure that some practical aspects are passed through. So basically, you were mentioning AIs that, well, basically startups that integrate third-party AI models, Ro, if I well understood. So basically, we considering the specific obligations depending on the actor's role in the AI system. We have providers, developers, importers, distributors. For the startups that integrate these AI models, these third-party AI models, this division can be sometimes complex. But let's say that if you have startup scenario using third-party models, you can have different types of scenarios. You can have a scenario where you're using foundation models like, well, through APIs like OpenAI. And in that case, you are a developer you as a startup. And you have to follow the obligations as a provider. Which responsibilities do you have then as a startup in those cases? Well, you have to do risk management, to have risk management documentation, also to ensure transparency. And you must ensure proper use, including, well, the evaluation intended use versus the actual use. You have to implement human oversight, and we'll go back to that. Human oversight doesn't necessarily mean to have one person there, okay? But you must ensure that during the cycle you have some human monitoring, logging also, and also to inform users that they are interacting with AI system. Okay, so it's important that you pass this information. So if the startup kind of fine-tunes or customizes the model significantly, it might become a provider itself, and then obligations as provider may apply. So to ensure and to safeguard your, let's say, responsibilities, it is important that you contractually ensure the responsibilities of the third-party provider. So you must ensure that all this documentation is in, of course, that there is a contract regulating your relation with your third-party provider, and that it respects AI Act. So you should basically, yes, well, it is important that to simplify your vision on the different types of obligations you may have. It is important, yes, Joe, to have some legal perspective here in order to translate into more friendly, let's say, language, the type of obligations that startups may face.
Okay, so we should be careful with AI models that we use to create our own.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, we must ensure that they respect AI Act. Either if we are using EU models, but especially if we are using third parties models that are not in EUA, in the European Union. So in some cases, we might even become importers. So depending on the type of usage that we do. And it is important to ensure that it respects the AI Act. And yes, we were talking about let's say the challenge of having regulation that basically can be delaying a little bit innovation on the European Union, like the EU Act, the AI Act. Okay. These are frontiers of technology. And it's not the first time that European Union legislates on issues that are on the frontier of let's say, clarity to be regulated. It has happened before with GDPR. We were let's say, front runners on that. It has happened from 20 years back on different type of issues. It's the law broadly follows society, and in some cases it is difficult to wait until we have a reality very clear and the legal issues very clear to regulate afterwards. So many times legislation has to be a little bit, let's say, think of it as a sandbox or as a pilot. So we must look into law differently as we look, and we must not look into an AI Act as being perfect from day one. No, this is why the European Union has established different deadlines for the implementation, and also a specific board, and also, of course, during also some specific, let's say, obligations of communication from different member states. So considering its application, we must look into this type of laws that really legislate new things that we really cannot touch them very well, define them very well. So like something that is not born perfect, and it's okay. But it's more important that this type of regulation exists, and it's let's say it's then we live with the risk of having let's say the basic human rights being violated, intellectual property rights being violated, and a lot of other violations.
It's like a foot on the door to regulate, to understand the things. I think a similar case we have actually here in Portugal is the definition of startup. It's something that we have on our law since 2023, and we understand from the application that there are some gray areas or some startups that are startups, but they don't get it within the law, so it needs to be constantly updated. I think it's like we'd say, like it's applying some startup jargons. The AI Act would be an MVP on the regulation on this for Europe. But I'll come back to one thing that you mentioned too. It's like the transparency. It's very important to understand if we are talking with a human being or with the machine, and this is something that the AI Act puts there. Is it needs to be clear if we are talking on a chat bot, for example, with a human or a bot or AI powered bot. I'll ask Catarina. How does this look from in practice for a startup? There's something that defines the AI, and you're seeing this is easy to implement, or what is your?
Let me just build on top of what André said as well, which I think it's a very interesting point on the law, just not to the latest point, or on the laws being iterative, which is, there's a very interesting story and funny to me because I do public affairs, but probably boring for other people, which is when the AI Act, the first proposal of the AI Act was done by the Commission in April 2021. Yes. So there was no ChatGPT. The proposal went from the Commission to the Parliament and to the Council at the same time, as this is the legislative process in the European Union. And it is in the middle of this process. So this is a very, very complex process that you need to get the three institutions to agree on something, and they need to agree within themselves, and it's a mess. It's fun, it's interesting, but it's a mess. And in the middle of this process, ChatGPT launches. So the concept of Gen AI wasn't there on the first proposal of the Commission because it didn't exist. So this is the speed of this technology, and it's very, very difficult to regulate a technology that develops at this rate. I think we all agree that, and it's very difficult as well to try to explain for someone, for example, the legislators that might not have this technical sensibility to understand certain types of details, technical details. So it takes that time to build that knowledge and that awareness so that then we can actually contribute as well towards making the law iterative. So yes, the laws are iterative. They answer to the populations and to the society's needs. And the AI Act is an example, a perfect example of it. It started as one piece, then it moved, even before the process was closed, it moved to another piece. It added the Gen AI, it added a bunch of other stuff. And now it's adding other types of content as well. There's a general code of practice that is being developed with the stakeholders that wanted to register. Define AI is part of this conversation as well. But anyone that was interested in this could have registered to be part of this. So the civil society can actually participate in this. You don't have to be a lawyer, you don't have to do public affairs, you just have to have a little bit of time. And if it's something that concerns you and worries your business, I think it's worth taking the time to understand what's being done and what are the forums where you can make yourself being heard. Going back to the transparency and going to your question, João, and going to André's point, I mean, it's all about being a good person at the end of the day, so it's all about being honest. And transparency is a little bit of that. It's about making sure that if you develop something with AI, if something is AI generated, if you're talking with a bot, or if you're talking with an AI-powered system, if your solution or product has AI, you have to be transparent about it. So you have to say that that's being done with AI, and what AI, and explain with what AI. How was that AI chosen if you're building on top of it? If you built it, how did you build it? What was the purpose of that thing that you built? What should it be used for? What shouldn't it be used for? Because it's also important. What are the limitations? What will happen to the data that you put there? Like everyone now, we use ChatGPT. What happens to the data that we put on ChatGPT? Does it go to the servers? Is it used to train their models, to retrain the models, to fine-tune them? So it's very important, and that's where transparency comes, to make sure that that's clear and that that is visible, so that you're not hiding this FAQ page or that you're not hiding this information on some lost page on your website. It is important that this is clear, this is transparent, it is searchable, and that it's integrated on the UX. And one of the things that's very important as well on transparency here, and that's something that Define AI has been working since the beginning, because that's pretty much the core of our business, but it's really important to all business right now. If you collect data, how you collect data, you need to be explicit about it. You need to ask for tacit consent, so it has to be there that people are giving their data. It's not just like something that's there, if you click here, you accept this. No, it has to be clear what their data is being used for, how you are collecting it, where it's being stored, because it is different if it's being stored in a server in Europe or in the US or somewhere else in the world. So that is really important. And I think that one of the things that the AI Act brings is pretty much to ensure that transparency is a concern that needs to be taken by design and not just bolted into in the end. You built everything and now, oh wait, I need to make it transparent. So I think that's one of the benefits that the AI Act brings to us as a society.
So it needs to be from the beginning. That's one of the things I think startups need to be aware of this regulation to not being in needing of hiring lawyers to understand the product afterwards.
It's about being honest
in the beginning.
Having good intentions at the end of the day as well. Like, you don't want to fool the people that your clients or the people that are using your product.
Ricardo, I already know that you don't like the regulation part.
It's not about the regulation that I don't like. Regulation needs to exist, and regulation needs to protect the people. Regulation cannot seize innovation. Regulation cannot treat people like babies. Regulation cannot cut our wings. Regulation cannot put our society in two steps behind what is happening in other countries, in other societies, let's per se, because this is happening. It is important for people to understand that we are losing an economic race. Economics is very important. We are losing. We are getting old as a society. We are getting less money. Things are changing around us. We are being less competitive. I have a friend in Portuguese Business School, and 3 people for a group of 15 people were forbidden to use our AI in their business. And I told them, move away from that, because that company will fall off in 1 year. Because It is impossible for you at this moment. It depends on industries, of course. You can say coffee shops can, the implication of AI because it's highly on humans. It's so the implication on AI, most on the operations, is not very relevant per se. But especially in consulting firms, or it depends on the business. If you're not moving, if you don't start using technology, you lose. It's the same that you are a farmer and you still use horses to and not a tractor, you know. But it's funny saying that this way, but it's true. And so we should, again, if some technology, some people make something against human rights, there is a constitution for that. And tell me I'm not right. If it's something, it's against your right as a citizen, there is something for that as well. What the regulation says, it puts clear what are, with the new technology, the rules that you can follow or not. We are at this moment, after 1 year of the AI Act, saying it's still not live. It will take maybe 1 year to go live. What I'm asking is, what were the implications for innovation of AI in Europe for something that is still on paper? What is the good part and the bad part of it? Did something change for the good, and what that good means materialistically? Because I don't see any good for having the AI Act on paper, apart from scaring people. Companies don't have fully access for technology that is built, for instance, in the US. There is, for instance, on the 28th, I think, it's coming the Accessibility Act, which means there are certain type of rules, 84 rules, that make all the business running in Europe, from Europe or in Europe, to establish and to have, for instance, a website that is searchable using a tab, or as a website as a blind people can use. We are in 2025 doing this. The US, this is a standard from the US, and I don't pretty much like the US, but I'm saying this for me, this act is more important because give the opportunity for the people that have difficulties access technology, if I'm blind, handicapped, or whatever. And for me, it's more important to apply this law than the AI Act. This is more human than the AI Act itself. So I think we should reorganize our priorities. I understand this, everybody saw the Terminator or Her or Black Mirror, and we don't go to that stage, but guess what? We are still like super far away in terms of technology for that. Robots are still dumb, AI is still dumb.
Yeah, the problem with that, I think it's, well, it's something that we have to deal with, because I don't think I would like to stop the AI Act. I'm not making an opinion on that, but I believe we should have a perspective of rules that we are not, should not cross them, and the Constitution and the Declaration of Human Rights are a big start.
But could be something like the ISO certifications. Why can we do instead of that, is say to work here in Europe or to work in these countries and to have this level access of, you need to do a process of certification, which is...
It would be burdensome as well for the companies. From my experience on the European Parliament, each time you would tell an SME that would have to do a certification, they would throw a fit.
So and they don't do, and then if it comes to legislation, they will pay a fine. But it's something that you can choose from, and I prefer to have the opportunity to choose what I want to do. But you could not
operate without the certification,
but
right?
I can operate from the US, but I can build the product here.
Okay, you cannot just put it on the market.
I cannot put on the market here, but me as a European country can sell to the US and make money out of it, and that's fine.
Okay.
I think that is the problem. That was actually going to be my question to you. It's like, but you already answered this.
I'm a European company, and I want to make business in the US. Like, take 90% of the tech companies in Portugal doing business mostly on the US. If I need to obey the rules, even though I'm not operating in Europe, that's a pain, because from where I'm selling, I don't have those type of rules. So I could trade off and say, okay, if you want to make business in Europe, there is some certifications that you need to do. And if you can operate in Europe, you don't need to follow those rules. If you want to sell here, yes, you have to. But if you want to sell to China, to the US.
Okay. But wouldn't these, well, most of the AI companies, the big AI companies, come from the US, and some of them are from China, like became later. So there's probably one big in Europe and Mistral, but anyway, wouldn't this be a way of the Commission, the European institutions, trying to control the impact of the US companies in Europe, and trying to protect the EU way of living?
But what are you protecting? Like, what are the implications if there is no AI Act tomorrow? What are the implications in my life?
Abuse in terms of transparency.
And the GDPR is a very interesting example that we did. So when the GDPR was launched, I was working at Define at the time as well. We were a very small company back then, and we're like, oh my God, we have this new set of rules that we need to comply to because we work with a crowd. Right now we have over 1 million people globally. At the time we had less, but it was a big crowd. We had to comply with these sets of rules, and it took us some time. But it was really interesting to see the impact that the GDPR ended up having on the world, because what happened was the companies, the Metas of life, the Googles of life, the big tech companies complained, obviously, because it was an extra set of things that they had to do to ensure safety of the data and the personal data. But at the end of the day, what happened in the longer run, what we see now is that the Brussels effect expanded to the United States. What do I mean by this? We had the rules being built here and being thought in Europe, and what happened was now there are rules, very similar rules in California, for example. There are very similar rules in very specific states where tech is being developed as well. California is one of the examples where Silicon Valley is. But that ended up being the companies that operate there, and they want to operate in Europe because Europe is a huge market for them as well. So they will not stop doing businesses with Europe because of that.
The difference is that you have innovation first, and then you regulate. GDPR comes after. You regulate after saying, okay, we have a problem here. Data is not being controlled. We don't know what is happening with the data. Let's try to control this. And then let's say, hey, listen, guys, we need to establish some rules here. It's not fair what we are doing right now. We don't know where the data is. People don't have access to the data. It's their data, not your data, and this was really important. Let's set some rules. After. Yes, of course, it was really important, really good decision. What I'm afraid of, and what concerns me, is doing before something happened, you know?
But we have AI since the 70s. I mean, it's not a new technology.
No, but the way it's using right now, AI now is what comes for a regular user, like everyone can use, like ChatGPT, it's like when
Gen
it's
AI.
globally universal for everybody. ChatGPT is the most downloaded app in app stores in the last 28 days, like more than Google, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all together, like much bigger. So now it's using. Let's see what really happens if we are trying to regulate. If we have like companies forbidden like their employees using AI to trying to be more, like we are already trying to like. Hold on the horses without knowing what the horses
But the
gonna be.
companies, it's kind of like that's their decision.
Yes,
that's the market working,
yes.
right?
It's just
that's
their
like
decision. You see,
that's
I can
decision.
feel like putting the like having the sense of the temperature in the room and understanding maybe it's too much, and looking to another places and see like booming and like I saw like every day or every week like incredible startups being created, like processing DNA samples, finding new ways to like new proteins, synthesize new proteins that will be impossible without AI because the amount of data is impossible with 1,000 researchers doing that. And looking at that, and maybe I'm very optimistic and I'm looking on the bad side, but I'm not looking on the bad side because I do believe that bad actors will always be bad actors regardless the amount of regulation that appears, and that's why the world is still rotten, right? So that's why I'm very concerned about it, because we could be like doing incredible things, like put a lot of money intensity to build big data centers here, invest a lot of digital health, helping real people thrive and make people work less, getting the same amount of money and live comfortably
I like your
in
vision.
Europe. Yeah.
I like your vision. I'm just a little bit skeptical of it, but I do like it. That's the ideal vision.
We need to trust in society, and I think society wants to what is the best for society itself, right?
I beg to differ a little bit, but that's a broader conversation, I think.
Well, we don't have much time left, so I will keep this good vibe here, and I will jump to the Q&A part and to ask the public if there's any question from the audience already here in Porto, in Lisbon. Porto, if you have any question, please give me a sign. But from now, I'll back to Carlos. Please state your name and.
I'm Carlos. I'm from Union Venture Builders. I would like to understand something that is a little strange for me. AI, it's a tool, just like every other tool. We are better and better on using tools every day. That's our nature. We are going to regulate a tool, or we are going to regulate the acts that we do with that tool. Because the thing here is we are going to prevent new crimes from being committed, or we are just anticipating that we are going to commit known crimes with this tool. Because we have legislation, we have penalties for the crimes that we already know, and those crimes are committed by people, not by tools. Okay, it's the same with guns. We have a gun, and a gun is completely harmless without a human. AI, it's a tool that it's able to allows us to commit new crimes. We have to understand that if it is a tool that allows us to commit the crimes we already commit, I think we have legislation for that. So that's the part I was interested in your opinion. Mainly, of course, our lawyer in the room in Porto, but also you guys.
Back in Porto, Ana, is something you'd like to add here?
Yes, it's a very interesting question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It is a very interesting question, and I think it goes directly from what was being discussed earlier. So is AI creating the possibility of new crimes being committed that are not legislated yet, that are not present on our criminal law? Or are there new crimes, or can we apply the law that exists previously to this type of new, let's say, legal situation, whether it's a crime or not? The difficulty to use previous laws concerning new situation, it is a difficulty, but it's something that protects us all as citizens, is that, and it's a fundamental basic principle of criminal law in Portugal, which is we cannot commit a crime that is not previously described as a crime on our law and described as crime and with a penalty associated to that. So we cannot do like an extensive, well, we cannot do what is called like an equiparation of some situation that seems like it was some certain type of crime. I'm trying to use simple language so that everyone that's not a lawyer understands. So we cannot do this comparison and, oh, this type of crime is similar to that type of crime, so let's just apply the same legal frame and the same penalty. No, this is not possible in Portugal. And I'm glad, and I think we all must be glad for that, because this protects us from situations of abusive governments and that really want to transform something into crime that was not previewed before. And so concerning violations of human rights, another type of violation that may occur using AI, like for instance, let's say not informing that some content is being created with AI and trying to, well, let's say deceiving people or whatever, sharing with an AI tool prompt personal information, personal data, or data protected by intellectual property. I might be mine or third-party information, so I might be violating GDPR, for instance, by sharing with those tools information, or GDPR or other types of
It's about the
laws.
risk. It's about the risk and the level of information of the tool we have in hand.
Yes, exactly. And so basically, I think it is important to have, because we do not have the type of law, broadly speaking, law as a system as Anglo-Saxonic countries. Our law is based on legal documents approved by our parliaments, our EU entities like, well, Commission, etc. And this allows us a better predictability of our steps. In the Anglo-Saxonic countries, the law is based on court decisions, etc. So, of course, there are fundamental laws like the Constitution, etc. But we all see movies, well, American movies talking about the amendments, etc. And mentioning court decisions, high court decisions, which is an application of the law after the let's say the fact occurred, which really does not match with our legal institutions and our legal let's say path in European Union, which is based in Roman law, and actually this is something that has protected us a lot on the past and makes the European Union way of doing things a little bit more in line with human rights.
Yeah, I think we were complaining a lot regarding European Union of being only regulating after too late, and now they are trying to do this too early, probably.
The legislative process in the EU, the AI Act, was very, very fast, and it took like 3 years. That was the fast-tracked process. But if I may just add something, AI is a tool. 100%, and that's what we make out of it. That will be, and that part is like if you use AI to commit a crime, that's already predicted on the system law. That will be it. The thing is, AI is a very, very powerful tool. It's an amazing tool that can bring so many good things for us as a society, but there are always bad actors. So I think that we are not fully understanding yet, and this will be an iterative process as a society, what will be the full impact of AI. And we already start seeing some impacts of AI, of things that, for example, in our law and in our constitution, you cannot discriminate, right? There's a very interesting example of AI, and I'll take this back to the United States because this example is from 2017, so we weren't talking about AI globally. But Apple, in 2000, I think it was 2017, it was around that area, they launched the Apple Card, and people in the United States could just on their iPhones, they would download an app. I don't know how it worked because it never got to Portugal because it was not allowed in the EU probably. You would just click there, it would just go through your finances, and it would give you, based on an algorithm, it wasn't Gen AI back then, it was just an algorithm that would give you the amount of money that you could borrow that they would allow you to have on that credit line. And one of the co-founders of Apple did the same thing with his wife, and they only have joint accounts, they have the same credit score, they have everything. She's a woman, he's a man. She got 10 times less the credit limit than he did. And this was one of the first times that they saw the bias in the system, and they did not train the model willingly to be biased. The thing is, they did not understand it. But it's just a product that will impact the access to credit. It is discrimination. This discrimination. In this case, you have discrimination, and that will impact the fabric of society, that will hinder the possibility of women to access to credit.
The problem is developer. There were such
the data they use historical data
already review on, for instance, financial institutions. There were clearly discrimination for African people, women, and they realized, and the problem was not the AI, the problem were the people developing the algorithm. But
historical data, because history is biased.
But again, there is already legislation for that. Yeah, of course.
To apply to the people that use the tool to do the crime.
No, but the thing is, it's so like it's so intrinsic. It's so deep in there. Like if you have a system that's deployed to 1,000 of people, until you notice how biased it is, and you could avoid it, there are ways for you to avoid this type of biases. It starts with the developing teams. You make sure that they are diverse. The risk of having a biased system in the end will be smaller, and then you ensure that the data that you are teaching the model is as bias-free as you can get. So instead of just using historical data, which was what happened here, so they just took this amount of data of people that were the best paying, statistically speaking. They did not put the gender there for it, but there are proxies, so it kind of emulates. What happened was women were only allowed to have credit in the United States, I think it was 1970. So statistically, on that pool of many years of data, men statistically were better payers. So that's why the system behaved like that. Then they shut it down. There are examples like this, for example, also in Amazon when they created this recruiting tool, which they removed gender from the equation when they were vetting the CVs, obviously, but there were proxy things. In this case, were words. Men used more than one type of words and women used other type of words. What happens there is that if you don't catch that and if you don't have awareness at least for that and you don't have the rules for that from happening, when you catch it, you're already discriminated against a very large piece of population. So that's one of the risks, and this happened before ChatGPT, before everyone was using AI. So there was already a mass risk for society if we were just allowed to use those systems without actually having them being vetted for the type of data that are being put there, without being, I don't know, I think that the certification is a great thing for you to like vet the data that you're putting there, that you are careful to have the data sets balanced, for example. But that's one of the risks that I personally see as well. And that's how things go underneath, and it's not something that it's a crime per se, that's very bluntly in your face. It's not going to kill anyone, but it's going to deepen social inequalities, and on the longer run, it's going to be disastrous if we don't pay attention to that. I think right now we are no longer on that track. I think people are now more aware of that, but I think that's one of the risks that AI has, that it's very, very deep, and we don't think about it right now.
I think it's a data problem. So
Absolutely.
years of data. That's why, and it's really interesting. Like now, for instance, Elon Musk with a new update on Grok, he wants to rewrite all the human data.
With
So
synthetic data.
with
It's so
synthetic data,
scary.
because in this way it tries to prevent this like history, legacy, let's say legacy data, garbage in, garbage out. In this case, a lot of garbage for the things that happened in the past that we are not proud of, and somehow we train the model with so many data that using synthetic data, maybe we can solve that. But again, this is happening, this should be happening in Europe. This is European mindset, right? Like prevent this from happening. We should think about, Mistral should think about, let's rewrite history. Let's create synthetic data to avoid having problems with the data that can prevent being racist or not fully understand the big picture of what today is. If we can rewrite history based on the human principles right now, things will be different. But again, Europe didn't think about it, and I'm asking why.
I think we'll take offline the conversation on synthetic data because I really want to hear how that works because I have a skeptical piece on that.
There's no time for it. We have to finish. This is all about data and it's all about networking. So let's move to the networking part and let's have the questions that I think the public still has. Let's have it on networking time, and I'll leave the floor to João Moreira Pires to end this.
Madalena.
Thank you very much for this amazing panel discussion. It's great to see that people are engaged. So before we go to the networking, João, who do we have to thank?
So, as usual, these events are only made possible by our partners. So we'd like to thank Investors Portugal, and please applaud them as I mentioned them. Investors Portugal, Ferroviário, 351, Portuguese Startup Community, UPTech, Porto City Council, Sograp, and Superboc Group. Don't forget, next month we'll have a special edition of the Hangout. Stay tuned to our social networks to know all about it. Subscribe to our newsletter, and now let's mingle and connect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.